Yeah. Steve Grant. Ghost, what up? Diesel, what up? Yeah, we the children of the future. We live in your computers, and we resist the hits from these slithering Medusas. Switching up maneuvers more quicker than they used to. The last thing they want is start criminals to move up. They try to reach for us, but they can't get to us. We're built to take hits, everything just slams into us. And because we ain't falling for these planned agendas, the shit we spit's only for advanced listeners. So listen up and look at us, we see it goes beyond us. That's why when we come together, we become the strongest. We getting close to the edge and I'm jumping off it, cause I ain't scared to die when I see that I got my squadron. We bombing them and I ain't talking about Boston, so shut up. Coming down on them, it's like a comet hitting Russia. Yeah, and that's a promise to my mother. Powerhouse by myself, but I'm stronger with my brothers.
Ghost Rider, Steve Grant, Diesel, we unite. Uniting tyrants, we divide and finally we freedom fighting. The lyrics we reciting are the weapons that we choose. If the people come together, there's no way we'll ever lose. Divided we fall, united we stand tall. Divided we fall, united we stand tall. Divided we fall, united we stand tall. It's power to the people, each and every one of y'all. Diesel automatic, I've been blessed with a voice to spread the message with these lyrics, say my weapon of choice. I'm rapidly spitting balls like bullets when they're recited. I ignited a fire in the people that can't be slighted. We're united by the energy of the human spirit. This is revolution speaking through the music, you can hear it. Power to the people is the message in our lyrics. All those who have chosen to oppose it better fear it. I vow there's no surrender, I will never go silent. I bow to no oppressor, take orders from no tyrant. I'm defying a giant, larger than Leviathan. Born in the lion's den, informed by the might within. I am him, he is me. Diesel, I'm the G.O.D. The energy in everything and everyone you'll ever see. We are all connected by a higher power. It's time that we unite and fight until the final hour. Ghost Rider, Steve Grant, Diesel, we unite. Uniting tyrants, we divide and finally we freedom fighting. The lyrics we reciting are the weapons that we choose. If the people come together, there's no way we'll ever lose. Divided we fall, united we stand tall. Divided we fall, united we stand tall. Divided we fall, united we stand tall. It's power to the people, each and every one of y'all. Yeah. Ghost Rider, I've been fired, a team coming. We joining forces to teach the world to stand for something. Cause most will fall for anything. A nation full of creeps and blind sheep, sleepwalkers and dope fiends. I've seen it all from the years that I put in. So afraid of truth that when you tell it, they head spins. And that's what happens when they make evil good, or good to be evil. Too much deception on our people and the ones we call sheeple. Roam in packs, know the type to play dumb when confronted with facts. They don't wanna know the truth, they rather be fed lies. So the blind leads the blind while humanity declines. Refuse to let it happen to me, not having it. Soldier for the Lord, so these demons I do battle with. Rappers nowadays are just counterfeits and prostitutes. Targeting your kids, better guide them like you're supposed to do. Ghost Rider, Steve Grant, Diesel, we unite. Uniting tyrants, we divide and finally we freedom fighting. The lyrics we reciting are the weapons that we choose. If the people come together, there's no way we'll ever lose. Divided we fall, united we stand tall. Divided we fall, united we stand tall. Divided we fall, united we stand tall. It's power to the people, each and every one of y'all.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Michael Conley. I'm the host of The Open Door. This is our debut. I hope all of you will listen and enjoy this show. I have become quite interested in this particular network, and I do want to thank the Infinite Source Broadcasting Network for allowing me to become a part of the family, and I do appreciate that very much. But before we get started with the show, I would like to go over some rules. And of course, we always have to live by rules. You know, nobody wants to live by rules. Nobody wants to comply, but we have to some extent on certain issues. When you come through the open door, please leave the language outside. And we all know what language I'm talking about. And the reason for that is that there possibly could be some children out there listening in, because this is listed as an entertainment, and it's not rated in any way other than PG, I would suppose. That's the way it goes. But at any rate, I want to thank everybody that got me involved in this, and I appreciate that very much. And one of the things that I always liked when I was broadcasting before, I always liked to start the show out with a humorous little story, and I would tie it in to the topic of conversation tonight, which, by the way, is the Constitution and how it has been perverted and twisted and split, and it seems to get worse every day. But anyway, back to the story. This is a story. There was a teacher one day. At the end of the day, she told her students, she said, I would like for y'all to go home tonight and think of a story and come back in and tell your story the next morning. And I want you to give me a moral to the story. Well, the kids were all excited, and they booked out of the school when the bell rang. And the next morning when they all came in, the teacher could see that they were very, very excited. And she said to the students, she said, did you guys follow your lesson plan that I gave you? Did you guys think of a story and develop a moral for it? And all of them were just excited. And there was one little girl, her name was Susie, was just jumping up and down. She was so excited. And the teacher said, okay, Susie, what's your story? And Susie said, well, she said, my dad has a lot of chickens. And one day, he and I were going to town in our wagon, and we had the wagon full of eggs, just completely full of eggs. And we hit a bump, and the wagon turned over, and all of the eggs broke. And the teacher said, wow, Susie, that's sad. What's the moral of that story? And she said, well, the moral to that story is don't put all your eggs in one basket. And the next little girl, Lucy, was bouncing up and down and raising her hands up. And the teacher said, okay, Lucy, what's your story? And she said, well, you know, my dad raises chickens. And we were taking eggs to the hatchery, and we had the wagon just loaded full of eggs. And as we were going down the road, a big old tree fell over and smashed all of the eggs. And the teacher said, well, that's terrible. What's the moral to that story? And Lucy said, well, the moral to that story is don't count your chickens before they hatch. And, of course, back in the back of the room was little Johnny, and he was jumping up and down, and the teacher was just dreading asking him. But finally, after going through several other students, she said, okay, Johnny, what's your story? He said, well, my Uncle Ted was in Vietnam, and he was flying a plane. And his plane got hit with a mortar and was going to crash. And so he put his parachute on. And before he put his parachute, before he jumped out of the plane, he grabbed a case of beer, a machete, and a machine gun, and he parachuted down. And on the way down, he drank that case of beer. And when he landed on the ground, he grabbed his machete, and he started killing all kinds of Vietnamese. And then he got his gun, and he started shooting all kinds of Vietnamese. And by the time it was all over with, there was 100 Vietnamese dead. And she said, oh, my God, Johnny, that's terrible. That's a terrible story. What possibly could be the moral to that story? And Johnny said, well, the moral, teacher, is don't mess with Uncle Ted when he's been drinking. So when you think about that, and you think about putting your eggs in one basket and counting your chickens before they hatch, it makes me wonder how that relates to the predicament we're in now. Have we, the people, put all of our eggs in one basket? Are we so set in our ways and so simplified and dumbed down that we only believe in one thing? Have we decided that we can count on our government to give us everything that we want so we don't have to stand up and work hard anymore? Have we gotten to the point where in our lives the only solution is violence? And with those three things, when you think about that and you think about the consequences of what's happening in the world today, it's very, very important that we understand that there's more than one solution, and we have to think about that. And our responsibility as human beings to provide answers or provide thought or provoke thought so that the rest of the world can follow suit, and perhaps one day there will be peace. Okay, with that, I would like to introduce my wonderful co-host, Miss Eva, the sweetest lady in the United States. And actually, she is the one person that influenced me more than anything with her last two shows on Our Reality. I was so excited about those shows. It was incredible, the amount of energy that it gave me, because I realized then that even at my age, and I'm as old as dirt, I still have something to offer for the people of the United States. Whether you listen or whether you don't, that's up to you. All I can do is present the information to you, which is why I chose the Constitution as a start for the debut of this show. And with that, I would like to introduce Miss Eva to this conversation.
Well, what a kind introduction. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. You got me blushing. I'm the tough chick. I don't blush. Well, thank you so very much for your kind words. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you, Michael. I love you, man.
I love you
too. Welcome to the ISB Network. So very excited to have you here. Thank you.
Well, interestingly enough, this is I've listened to a lot of networks, and the shows never really interested me because there was always a lot of anger that you could hear in the people's voices, and I don't particularly subscribe to anger, because when you're angry, you try to solve things through emotion, and that is the worst way to try to solve something. If you're going to solve something, you have to look at it from a standpoint of that the other person has something to say, and if you listen, you might learn. And I've learned a lot with the ISB Network. I mean, the people that I've met so far are just outstanding, and I am very thankful to be a part of this network. But interestingly, the Constitution, and that's what we discussed today, you and I did. There's an organic Constitution, and then there's, as we like to call it, you and I, the cosmetic version of the Constitution. And what a lot of people don't realize, Eva, is that the organic Constitution was based on a republic, which was what happened in the very beginning in 1787 or whatever it was.
It was 1787. Actually, I posted the organic Constitution in the event page also.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. And that particular thing is what I am striving to go back to. As a constitutional republic, we could have survived very well, but the evil deeds of men, and there was evil deeds that occurred even back in those days with people like Aaron Burr and so forth and so on. And there was arguments. In fact, when the revolution started, only 3 to 3.5% of the people were even in agreement with it. But it was so important to our founders because they were being, and actually a lot of people think it was the Boston Tea Party, when in fact it was the Stamp Act that actually was the hammer coming down that started the revolution, and which resulted then the Boston Tea Party, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But very soon after that, in fact, one time, the capital was Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Benjamin Franklin was walking out of Independence Hall, and a lady, at least that's the story I read, a lady asked him, what kind of government have you set up? And he said, it is a constitutional republic, And she said, will it work? And he says, only if you allow it to work. And those words right there are extremely, extremely telling, because it wasn't very long after that we started to deteriorate slowly, very slowly, until the 1870s, and actually during the Civil War when President Lincoln was in office, we started to deteriorate to the standpoint that we corporatized America, and as a result of that, the citizens were no longer people. We were part of the corporation. And, of course, I posted several things on the Open Door page where if a person wants to know and wants to understand and read what I posted, you'll find that there's an incredible amount of information there that I don't believe that the people know. And what has happened is that we have slowly allowed certain individuals and certain factions, not just in our country, but in other countries, to that have influenced our government, which is a government formed by the people, for the people, and is supposed to be run by the people. But as you know, that's not the case anymore.
Well, also, though, Michael, we have been dumbed down since birth, and we are so complacent and live in this lackadaisical la-la land that we have become drones. We believe what is said to us without checking into the other realms of possibility, because this is coming from the government, and you know my feelings on the government. A bunch of what? Government shenanigans.
I love it the way you say that.
Well, thank you, kind sir. But, so that plays a ginormous part in our lives. But if people would, again, turn off those doggone boob tubes, turn off the television set, read. I encourage everybody just to read something.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Read a recipe. Do something other than just sit in front of that television. It's called television programming for a reason, people.
That's right. And, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's absolutely a fact. One of the pitfalls of progressing throughout the ages has been the fact that we have become lazy couch potatoes who would rather watch TV, sports, glamour shows, game shows, who don't read anymore. And probably one of the greatest things, the greatest tools that was ever invented, but is turning out to be just as bad, is the internet. And
oh my goodness, you're absolutely right. Because along with having a plethora of information, there's also a plethora of disinformation floating out there.
Bingo. Well, I'll give you a perfect example, something that I saw. There was a post made, might have been last week or a week before last, about that there was a judge and two people going out to where the Bundys had occupied that empty federal building, which actually is the people's, if you want to look at it from a technical standpoint.
Yeah, I'm down for all those technicalities.
Well, interestingly enough, it was headlined, and it showed that, well, these were the saviors. These three were coming in. They were going to take the bull by the horns and cut a deal and da-da-da-da-da. Well, you notice it's still going on, so I don't see any deal being cut. So I actually believe that was all hogwash in terms of that. But Although you were with me and we did part 1 and part 2 of Road Trip to Oregon, something is smelling really, really fishy, and
So I, without me personally being there and seeing it firsthand, grain of salt, man, grain of salt.
Well, that's just it, because there's so many skilled people out there, and by skilled, I'm talking about computer hacks. They pull this piece of information, pull that piece of information, create a totally new set of information, Photoshop it to a picture. And I see just on my page alone, because my page is, I try to keep a lot of diversity in that I have as many progressive Democrats as I have Republican conservatives on my page, because I like hearing what both sides have to say. And interestingly enough, the conservative side is saying, well, we want to go back to the Constitution, but we don't want Muslims in our country. Well, that's kind of against the Constitution. I mean, it really is. There's a reason why the First Amendment was written, which is freedom of press, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, because that was to them, our founders, the most important thing. And when the First Amendment started to deteriorate? In 1871, in a court case, Reynolds versus the U.S., and Mr. Reynolds had agreed to this as a test case, is basically what it was, because back in those days, women were not allowed to vote, and that's basically what it was about. But it came to the point where he had been arrested. He was from Utah, and of course, the territory of Utah was only allowed to become a state when they outlawed polygamy. Now, I don't particularly agree with polygamy, because I had difficulty with one wife. Why would I want 25? So I don't understand the logic.
I'll be a sister wife. Oh my gosh, oh man.
Okay, but anyways, the end result was, which was kind of interesting, is that the John Jay, I believe, and I might be wrong about that because I don't really remember, but I know the head man for the Supreme Court at that particular time wrote the opinion that changed and actually destroyed the First Amendment. And that was because, the First Amendment on freedom of religion says that no law shall be established to prevent religion or the free exercise thereof. And the free exercise clause is, in fact, a clause that says that a religion can practice this religion as that religion sees fit. And that I don't think the founders realized what they were getting into when they said that, because basically they were trying to get away from the Church of England, which ran everything. And they didn't want that. They wanted a country where the people could run it. So the part of the First Amendment started deteriorating in 1871 when the Supreme Court ruled that Reynolds had no right to have more than one wife. Oddly, every one of the justices were Christians. And Christians in those days thought Mormonism was actually a disease, that it wasn't a true religion, much like you hear people talk about the Islamic faith now as not being a religion. People felt like that back in those days. So when that decision was rendered, that was the time when we changed over and became a corporate country, a corporate state, and we became non-individuals anymore, because that time period between 1861 and 1890, tremendous era of history where so many things changed place. In fact, when the states, the 13 or however many it was, I think it was 13 states that withdrew from the Union, okay, the whole thing was they withdrew for a reason, and we can talk about that later. But the fact of the matter was, votes couldn't be taken because there wasn't enough people in Congress at the time because the southern states had pulled out. So it was never ended appropriately, and it was never started back appropriately. So technically, although you'd never win this in court nowadays, but technically we have never left the original Constitution. So you see, that's how.
It's a
Go
bait
ahead.
and switch. It's a bait and switch then.
Exactly.
And it is a scheme. And again, I mean, well, not again, but this is what I'm going to bring up is that, here we have alienable rights, okay, our God-given rights. And now we have a piece of paper in front of us, the Constitution, that hails all sorts of rules.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's like alienable rights, Constitution, alienable rights, Constitution.
That's it.
It's, because no matter what, and then, oh my goodness, they aren't going by the organic Constitution because, again, bait and switch, the Constitution as we know it today.
Mm-hmm.
This is, people don't realize this. And if you want to learn a lot, please, I take a look at the Constitution, read it thoroughly. I'm hearing also, Michael, that that Harvard, Yale, and all the highfalutin universities, they want to they want to abort the Constitution. They don't see it as a living, breathing document, and they believe that it is outdated. But if you read the Constitution, people, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It is cut and dry. So where all these law students get their disinformation from, they've been programmed to believe that.
That's right.
It's very simplified, though.
That's it.
If
listen,
I can understand it, anybody can.
why don't we, at this particular point in time, bring in people to discuss this with us? Because I discussed this at length today, and I want to hear what other people have to say and how they feel about that.
Let me share the phone number. We do have callers calling in. In fact, I'll get to one in just a second. But the phone number is, if you would like to chime in, area code 347-850-8229. Again, 347-850-8229. And I am going to go ahead and bring this first caller in. And it is none other than Mr. Renegade Smith. Hey, Renegade.
Hey, how's everybody doing tonight?
How are you doing, Mr. Renegade? How are you?
I am doing great. I want to welcome you not only to ISB Network, but also to the Coalition. It is an honor to have you here with us and to join the family. And I got to say, I love that story, borderline joke that you started the show with. That was great. Don't mess with Uncle Ted when he's been drinking. That was good. I can picture a little kid sitting there saying that, knowing his Uncle Ted.
Well, my analogy with that is that the alcohol Uncle Ted was drinking is the Kool-Aid that the people who are still asleep drink, and it dulls your senses, and there's no question about that, at least in my mind. And so I thought that I would tell that little story just to see how people would take that story plus the analogy. But it's a pretty good little story.
It is. I like that. I'm listening to you guys talk about the Constitution and the television that people like to watch all the time, and there's and Eva, you said how people are dumbed down, but not only that, And, well, Mike, you actually kind of touched on it with the football and the glamour shows and this and that. There is such, and it's been going on, this is nothing new. It's been going on in this country since the creation of the television. We are being so distracted. And through that television, it actually gives people a false sense of reality. And people actually start modeling their lives around these actors and actresses. That's all they are, actors and actresses. And it's like it numbs them to what the real reality is. So when they see truth, they don't care about it because, hey, tonight, the new Duck Dynasty is coming on or the new Kardashian show is coming on or, hey, it's the Super Bowl. They don't care. As long as their little bubble, their la-la land, their dreamland is unaffected, they don't care. They've been so anesthetized to what's going on around them. They're just like, sheep being led to the slaughter. It doesn't faze them. And I'll tell you this, though. I love that gleam that you see in that person's eye the day that they do wake up. But that gleam quickly changes to either, that state of depression that everyone kind of gets because you realize you've been lied to. But then a lot of people, they come back firing and fighting and swinging and going harder than ever. And the initial shock goes into a depression, but then it turns into this outrage and this mission, this fire that burns in them, and they want to expose truth. I see it happen in everybody that I've woken up. And I got a pretty good rap sheet and record, little check marks I put on to keep track. But I've done pretty good here, waking people up, and it's great.
Yeah, well, at least
on your belt.
Yeah, that's on my belt.
AJ, I wanted to ask you a question. If have you, and I'm sure you have, so I'm not trying to belittle you or anything, but have you actually read the original Constitution?
Years ago.
Okay. Here's the thing, because when Miss Eva and I were talking this afternoon and this morning, we were talking about the differences, and of course, we call the corporate thing the cosmetic, because you're covering up everything, and that's what cosmetics do. But the original Constitution called it the union of several states, the states united, United States and Congress assembled, these United States of America, the United States of America, the United States of America, with the intent onto defining certain issues. The one that the one that we're going by right now is the United States of America, all in capital letters.
Yes.
And the intent is a totally different thing because it talks about a corporate U.S. rather than a sovereign republic. And it started out
look
like
at the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was where it started. I mean, that's where they did a power grab.
Yeah.
And here comes your straw man. The straw man accounts, your name in all capital letters, just like the United States of America in all capital letters.
Right.
See, these are these little slick games that we allow them to play. Why do we allow them to get away with this fake jargon that they use?
Because I'll tell you why. Because the schools today, and I'm talking about, we're talking about people. Of course, you're an exception to this, AJ. I mean, you really are. I find it very intriguing that someone your age has the knowledge that you do. So it's obvious that you don't sleep sleep outside, or you're awake, dude. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But it's like the Declaration of Independence was written in 1776, the Articles of the Confederation in 1778, and the Constitution was actually ratified in 1787. And basically, initially, in the original document, the land was British colonized and then separated into independent free states, which on July 4, 1776, became the Sovereign States United. The corporate one, or the cosmetic version, started with the Gettysburg Address in 1864. and the incorporation of the District of Columbia by Presidential Legislative Act of February 21st, 1871, under the Emergency War Powers Act and the Reconstruction Acts. And that's when it started, actually, of which, everybody wants to tout Abraham Lincoln as being one of the greatest presidents. I personally think
not.
No, he was not. He was a smart man. He was a common man, but he suddenly turned rogue when he went into office. And like in the original Constitution, it talks about a republic having its beginning with a colonial resistance against England's tyrannical government, major opposition against British control, which became the beginning of the revolution, the Stamp Act, which I was talking about earlier, which was established by the British Parliament in 1765, which was taxation without representation. And our response to that was the Boston Tea Party. And it was followed by the, Go ahead.
Well, the Boston Tea Party, from what I've come to find out through my research, was actually a bunch of Freemasons a little bit upset with the British bringing in their tea and undercutting them. And it's actually written in the Masonic logs what they did. They were the ones that dressed up like Indians. And when
really?
Yes, this was nothing to do with taxes. They were just mad that they were getting undercut.
Wow.
And I spoke about that many times. These are the lies of history. Our history books, if they were to be rewritten, I think a lot of people would be in absolute shock.
Oh, I know they would. Because everybody thinks the Civil War was over slavery, which was not at all.
Right, I know.
And it was actually had to do with commerce more than anything.
Yes.
Because the northern cities where all the businesses wanted a tax levied. Yeah, they were broke, and they wanted a tax levied on the South because that's where all the textile mills were, and that's where all the cotton was grown, et cetera, et cetera. And then the South threatened to sell their cotton to England and other countries. And then, of course, the rest is history. I mean, the war started at Fort Sumter, and that was the end of that. I mean, it was all over with. And eventually it came, it's all about the Negro slaves.
Why did they do that? Why didn't they just? That's what my question is. Why would they make it about slavery when in fact it was not about slavery? It was about what you just said, the commerce. Yeah. But why not come out and tell us the truth? What did they have to hide?
Another distraction.
Right. And see, actually, that is part of was part of the corporate maneuver at that particular point in time, because the corporations that were in New York City and Washington, D.C., and everywhere else were hang on a second, let me take care of this right quick. I don't even know where that phone is. Well, you just have to deal with that phone ringing. I can't do anything about that at this point.
That's the busy ISB studio.
But the thing was, it turned it into the slavery thing. It turned into the slavery thing because that invokes emotion. And like I was saying, when I was saying earlier in the show, you cannot really have a decent conversation with somebody or a disagreement or a debate if you allow emotions to control your speech. And
I loved how you said that. That was beautifully put. Beautifully put.
And
it's very true.
Yeah, it is very true. And the point of that particular part was the corporations wanted dominance over the South. They wanted to control, just like the corporations do now, the South. And the South, they openly said, this is not about slavery. This has got to do with the fact that we don't want to be taxed for growing cotton.
Right.
That takes away from everybody. And so, they just left. And it's really interesting. I mean, the history of the Constitution, that's something that I wish people would really and truly stop and think about what it really means. Yes.
They should be teaching it in schools. And they don't. They teach the lie. And you know another big one besides the cotton industry in the South, I know Kentucky was huge on industrial hemp. Hemp can be used for so many things, like making.
Right.
Matter of fact, the first cars, the interiors were made out of industrial hemp. And there's another huge thing that came out of the South that, my gosh, hemp, I'm telling you, if we would just let that, you can make rope with it, you can make concrete with it, which it's more, it just has a longer life. You can make jeans with it.
Yes.
Anything you want.
And actually, the concrete, they call it hempcrete.
Hempcrete.
It's lighter. It's got more insulation value than regular cinder blocks and all that kind of nonsense. I mean, and you're absolutely correct. The timber industry played a big and an important role.
That paper, the Hearst family.
That's right. Because 1 acre, at least this is what I've read, 1 acre of hemp produces as much paper as 10 acres of trees.
And think about how long it takes to grow those trees back. Hemp is grown in like what, one summer? If you take it to a warm climate, you can grow it all year round.
Yeah, you can. I mean, in places like Florida and South Texas, Southern California, Arizona, New Mexico, Louisiana, all those places, Georgia, etc. Because go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Well, but the thing of it is that it's easy to grow. You can harvest it after 60 days. So you figure that's 6 harvests a year potentially. Where if we had these huge hemp farms, like they have these huge cornfields in Iowa and Kansas and Nebraska and all these places.
Monsanto cornfields.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, but can you imagine the amount of money that this country could make to help people in this country? And so they... No, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No.
It was. I mean, it just staggers my mind how that kind of thing. I posted a little meme the other day, and while this is kind of disgusting, it's not bad, but it had a picture of 2 dogs, and one of them had a collar with a big old funnel sticking out on it, and he was talking to the other dog, and he said, he said, it's amazing that when they took away my ability to lick my genitals, how much free time I have. But when you think about that, it's like a horse collar. It's a dog collar. They put those kinds of things on us. It's unbelievable. I mean,
well, and not to mention
that right there was hilarious.
Hemp also absorbs radiation too.
Yes, it does.
So
it creates oil.
The Fukushima and the 3 Mile Island. Chernobyl, yes.
Yeah.
Well, here's another one too.
To use it. It's just like I was discussing that book, Man, Where's My Jetpack? It was all the things that we were promised in the future, like jetpacks and batteries that run forever. It's a real easy read, okay? And I encourage everybody to read it. Man, Where's My Jetpack? And and it's just incredible, but they want to repress us, and it's all about money. And both of you gentlemen were right about Randolph Hearst. I'd come across that a few years ago. As a matter of fact, this isn't the particular one that I came across, but I found this also, and I posted it in the event page, Randolph Hearst Randolph Hearst going after, the marijuana industry, the hemp industry.
The industrial hemp industry, yes. Because they're going to put them out of business. And that's the thing. You're dealing with oligarch families, ruling class elites that think that they, everything that, here's the sick thing. Everything that they own is polluting and killing this planet. So when you take something like industrial hemp, here's another one, hemp oil. Not only does it cure cancer, but think about this, the petroleum industry out of business.
That's a fact.
You betcha. And it's so
you can start making plastics now that aren't. The plastics that they have now have so many chemicals in it, but if you use hemp oil, it removes these toxins from plastics.
Well, yeah, it does, because plastics from petroleum are full of polymers, where plastic made from hemp has no polymers, and
exactly,
you can relate this part of this conversation we're having very easily to the Constitution, because there's so many things in the Constitution that allow for that kind of thing, that is our right, that the corporate America has destroyed, which is, brings up another interesting point. That's what I'm worried about as far as Donald Trump is concerned. It's not that he's a bad person, I don't think, but I'm so afraid that he is so attached and has become a corporate lady of the evening, and I will not use the word that they use, but that he is so attached to that he's going to have a difficult time, should he be elected to the office, a difficult time.
Hey, Michael,
yes.
I want to ask you a question quick. You mentioned about the dog wearing a funnel on his collar. He couldn't lick the genitals. He's got a lot of free time now.
Because I can.
Do you know why a dog licks his genitals?
No, go ahead. Tell me.
Because he can.
That's funny. But, that particular kind of collar also represents the yoke that we put on cattle to keep them from going through fences. It's the yoke that is put on human beings to prevent us from going to the other side. I mean, the yoke can be invisible, or it can be an actual yoke. And that's why I say, there's several videos out there. One of them is incredible. It's called Human Farming. And it actually shows you the progression of where we've come from ancient Egypt to now, as far as being slaves, and we don't even know that we are slaves. I mean, there's a few of us, but there's quite a few that aren't. And that's what bothers me about politics in this country, is that because the Constitution has been bypassed, circumnavigated, so to speak.
Circumnavigated. That's what they're doing with the military and the police.
So what happens is that they've done it for so long, at least since 1871 that I know of. It could have been happening way back, but I kind of keep my U.S. history mode to the Civil War era, which is one of my favorite parts of U.S. history. But you can actually see the progression of what's happened. I mean, we've had so many. Woodrow Wilson was absolutely the worst president we have ever had.
Oh, he sold us out to the freaking Federal Reserve.
Yes, he did. He sold us out. And the Federal Reserve Act, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was actually passed in 1933. And when 1913. That's what it was. Yeah. I knew it had a
33 is when 1933 is when they took the gold.
Right.
But that was only a 100-year act. So in 2013, it was up for vote, and guess what? They got voted in again.
Imagine that.
Well, go figure. And they probably once again didn't have the votes to ratify it, but it just kept, got pushed through. Yep, that's just like all this other nonsense. They just push it through on us in the middle of the night, like on Christmas Eve, And that's the skunk works that we deal with. They listen to stuff that we, the people, have got to stop. It's this constant corruption driven by corporations because they're paid. And you know what? This brings me to a thought. You know, it is so cold here. It is so freaking cold here. They're calling for a foot of snow. Mike, I was telling you this earlier.
Yeah.
Coming this weekend, if not more. But it's so freaking cold here that I actually saw a politician with his own hands in his own pockets. and that brings me to something else. If we can put one of them collars on a dog so that he can't lick his genitals, maybe we can start putting those collars on politicians' hands so that they can't dip them in our pockets.
That's pretty good.
Right.
Well, Eva, I see we've got somebody in the green room, so to speak, that appears to have their hand up. Why don't we bring that person in as well?
Okay, let me refresh my page because I'm only seeing Renegade.
Well, this one is a gentleman by the name of Lou, and
okay. Yeah, it's probably just my page that needs to be refreshed, and so I'm going to go ahead and bring Lou in right now. No.
Yeah, he's been on hold for quite some time.
Okay, my computer officially just froze.
Okay, well I can bring him in.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so what I do? Just punch the blue button. Because I'm
the one right next to the mute.
I can bring him in now if you'd like.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Lou. How are you?
What's up?
Hey, Louis.
I didn't really. I mean, you kind of read my mind. I actually didn't have my hand up, but I did want to get involved and start talking just because I love to talk. But I can listen to you three for another hour and a half because you guys are really doing a good job and a good conversation going down.
Thank you. It's great to have you with us.
Yeah, it is. It's real great, Lou. I'm glad that you're with us at this point in time. That's a good deal, man. Thank you.
Well, if I can quick do a plug. I had the privilege of being with Lou and other people at the People's Party Coalition this weekend, and it was a blast. Thank you, Lou, for your input and coming.
Oh, yeah, that was fun. I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad to be listening to people that have their minds on right, and I'm always up for reinterpretations, and what you guys are telling me, I agree with a lot. I'm always asking questions, and my brain's starting to get a little twisted with the things that I'm seeing in my daily life because of, all the media that I read on Facebook and stuff, and then I hear other people's perspectives all day long, and Donald Trump seems to bother me a lot, but I could understand, like Alex Jones is not endorsing him, but he understands him, and he calls him a statesman, and I could understand it, but I still don't believe the puppetry of the two-party system, and I'm a little tired of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's you. Hey, I'm with you there, brother.
Well, the two-party system really does not work. In fact, George Washington was the very first president we had that ever said anything about that, and he was quite unhappy with what he was seeing when he left office, and what he was seeing was the formation of the Whigs and this party and that party, and he warned us about that. And I mean, he wasn't out of office a week, and I believe it was John Adams that was the next president. They immediately had two parties. And two parties cannot possibly, what that represents is a democracy, which is mob rule. I mean, 51% of the people want something, 49% are just left sucking hind tit. I mean, that's just the way it is, and that's the sad part about it, because to me, that's mob rule. And I don't like it. I want us as a country, and I'm hoping that that there's more people that feel like I do in this regard, that at some point time, we do go back to a constitutional republic because there was no such thing as eminent domain in a constitutional republic. There will never be anything like eminent domain in a constitutional republic.
Well,
what you own is yours.
Can I ask you, what is eminent domain?
Eminent domain means that any government, whether it be state or federal, can come in and take your land, essentially. Now, what pretty boy Rick Perry said when he was governor of Texas, because that's my home state where I live now, born and raised here. It's a good state, it's a beautiful state, but the problem of it is that this international highway that was going all the way from Laredo, Texas, and Nuevo Laredo, was going all the way to Canada, and he tried to take land via eminent domain, and what was happening is that the state was offering less than retail value of the land, and the people who were fighting that actually won in court, and he couldn't, which was one of the reasons that the project was defunded in Texas, because they just couldn't come in and grab the land like the BLM is trying to do, which is all a twisted form of manipulation of the Constitution, and it's really interesting because there was no such thing as eminent domain. And, you look at the BLM, if you look at when the BLM didn't get formed until, I believe it was 1946 or 47, one of those 2 years. And it was the man who everybody said anybody could be president. And I'm trying to think of his name. I've got a brain fart right now. I can't think of his name, but he was president from like right after Roosevelt all the way to Eisenhower. And his thing was that and actually the BLM was formed from two parent companies or two parent organizations or agencies. One was the agency that controlled the grazing rights, and one was the agency that controlled the land rights of publicly owned land. And oddly enough, the part of the BLM, part of it, has the eminent domain of all mineral rights on public land. So and a lot of people don't realize that. And what has morphed what the BLM has morphed into is a monster of gigantic regards, because look at what's happening in Oregon. Look what happened to the Bundys. I mean, and all of that had nothing to do with grazing rights and paperwork and all of that kind of nonsense. It had to do with mineral rights. And as somebody was saying
George Carlin said that. Sorry to cut you off, but
no, that's okay.
You guys said that quote. It was George Carlin and something Stevenson. Adlai E. Stevenson said that as well.
Uh-huh.
Anyone could be a president in America.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a bell or not.
Now, hey, Mike, Lou actually runs a radio show called Open Your Mind Podcast, and was actually Lou, are you still with us here? You still broadcasting out of ISB? Okay. I know the holidays happened. We had a lot going on. You had to move. You're with Casper, I guess, and but you guys run an awesome show. Mike, their show is definitely worth checking out.
Okay, Lou, I need you to friend me then, because I would really like to. I'm really into this kind of radio. I mean, it's just one of those things that's a passion I have. And I've been in and out of internet radio for I say many years, since 2007, 2008. But I'm interested in your show. I'd like to listen to it sometime. So if you would,
they do an awesome job.
Definitely. I'm looking at you right now. I'm going to add you right now. But just hearing you and Renegade talk to, I mean, you guys have great voices, and I'm like, I'm listening to you guys going, man, I hope I sound that good when I talk on the
You do, brother. And you know what? It doesn't even matter about your voice. It's your show topics and the way you present yourself. You guys do an awesome job on Open Your Mind podcast. You know, it really has been an honor to have you guys here. And I actually did that one show with you, man. Was freaking great on racism.
Yeah. We sat down together. I mean, we sat down over the phone, but we did a whole show together, and it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can check that out. But
really,
that
was an awesome show.
It's crazy because I'm hearing you guys talk.
Hour. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lou.
I'll just quickly say before I let you go in, but I just wanted to say that when I was listening to you, Michael and AJ, Renegade go at it, you guys are just chopping it up. Like, I mean, just back and forth, really, really smooth conversation, and you guys both have great voices. And you guys talk about real things that are very intellectual. Like, I always think about my show and go, like these guys, they might listen to my show like I'm an amateur, like not that it is, but just like I like the level of intelligence you guys have, so it makes me just want to step my game up that much more.
Hey, but you know what? That's what I love about this network, man. We have such diversity, and your show, man, brother, don't downplay yourself. You guys run an amazing show, man. You know what? If I don't catch it live, I always go back and listen to the archive. You guys rock. And the way you guys have it set up, the callers, you go to our YouTube channel. I'm going to start actually uploading everything that Lou puts out on. Lou, give a plug for where you're putting your stuff out on YouTube, because your setup is awesome. You can actually see everybody talking, and while you're listening to the show. Yeah, it's freaking great, man. They got an awesome setup. Lou, plug your stuff, man.
Well, like
where can they find you?
Like Martin Luther King, like I have a dream of creating this in everyone's household, everyone speaking conscious podcast or doing a TV show. It's called Open Your Mind Podcast. You can YouTube that. Just search Open Your Mind Podcast on YouTube, and you can see what I'm trying to create for not just myself, but anyone that's in touch with me. I want to teach people how to build their own podcast shows, basically like my own TV show. But I'm done talking. Eva, go ahead.
It's the top of the hour. We're going to go ahead and take a little break, and when we come back, we have another caller in the studio with their hand up. In the interim, anybody that is listening to this show, if you would like to chime in, the phone number is area code 347-850-8229. Again, 347-850-8229. 8229, and if you would like to chime in, you do have to press 1, okay? And so we're going to take a little break and play a little Bob Dylan.
All right.
I knew I would play it now. I never play like this. Now I never play it anymore. This is what I would play. House in New Orleans, they call the rising sun. It's been the ruin of many poor souls, and me, your God, I'm one. If I had listened to what my mama said, I've been at home today,
fact, that was Bob Dylan, House of the Rising Sun, recorded in 1962. Hi, Michael.
I'm telling you, Bob Dylan is, in my opinion, one of the greatest songwriters. I mean, you can't imagine who he has written songs for. He's written songs for Willie Nelson. He's written songs for just about everybody. And people, at one time in the very beginning, when he started back in the 50s, everybody was just cheering him on and cheering him on. And when he switched over from the acoustical guitar to an electrical acoustical guitar and changed his style of music to more of a rock and roll flavor, people belittled him. And I'm telling you, I mean, you know, I've got every album he ever made, and eventually I'm going to add that to some of that, or find a way to be able to play a lot of his music on the air, because he has a message that people just do not understand. You have to really listen to what he says in order to, and he's a patriot, despite what anybody thinks. I mean, because he talks about the hard times and this and that and the other. But anyway.
Shame on anybody, though, that would belittle him for switching it up from acoustic to electric. I play both. Matter of fact, I learned on acoustic, and my parents told me, and I wanted that. I'm telling you something. I wanted that electric guitar so bad I had the shakes. And my parents told me, you have to crawl before you walk. So they sent me to get folk guitar lessons with an older woman named Addie. And I learned for two years with her, learned acoustic. I learned how to read music and all that.
Excellent.
And then, you know, as I did my lessons with her, I was chasing, you know, a little bit of Motley Crue and Judas Priest and, you know, Black Sabbath. And, you know, I was doing my own thing, and I got better than her in that aspect. And after about 4 years, I quit and just did my own thing. But, you know, people, you can't belittle a musician for broadening their horizons. That's like with me. You know, if you listen to my music, I have acoustic. Well, I didn't put any of my acoustic songs out yet because I want to do a full album about that. But, you know, if you listen to my music, I got heavy stuff, you know, not heavy all the time, but, you know, guitar-driven music. But yet I got like more than that, but I haven't released them, but 2 released songs, which are all, you know, computer-driven beats and, like, you know, like a synthetic sound, which, you know, I kind of arranged them to sound, you know, more, not like a loop, but I put, like, you know, your verses and your chorus in there. But, man, I can only imagine someone lambasting me, like, oh, where's your guitar at, blah, blah, blah. Hey, man, that's called music. I'm diverse. Don't bust Bob Dylan for being diverse. It's called music. And if you have the talent, go with it.
Well, you're, you know, very diversified too. I mean, you spread out in all genres.
You know what? I do what I love. I play the music that I like to hear. And if I have a reggae song, hey, so be it. If I have a, you know, hip hop song, man, so be it. This is the music that I like, and if I want to do a song like that, that just goes to show, I guess, my diversity and talent. So, you know, for anyone to go against Bob Dylan for grabbing that electric guitar, man, shame on them.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
And you can find Renegade Smith on SoundCloud. We do have another caller. We do have another caller with their hand up, so I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. And it is our friend of the station of ISB. It's Ian. Hi, Ian.
Hey, Ian,
hey guys,
how you doing,
just
bro?
So you know, the speaker. Hey, Michael, congratulations on your first show, and congrats, man, million congrats. And yes, the speakerphone is off.
Thank God. I was going to yell at you if it wasn't.
I actually remembered this time.
Good.
It's like, you know how I always say, like when you do things, it's sometimes even on a day, it's your day off, it's so routine. You get in your car to go buy milk, all of a sudden you end up at work. That's like me with my cordless, you know? I walk around the house with the speakerphone on because I'm doing usually 100 different things, and even I can be sitting down with it, and it's like speakers on. It's like, oh, what am I doing? I always forget to turn it on when you guys are on. Any network, ISB, Friday night, Super Show, any show, and it's like I always got to be reminded by somebody. It's usually Renegade. So.
For listeners out there, Ian does. He's known as E for Eternity, and he does a lot of work. Videos. He used to have run a radio show, which is very good. You really put that together well. I don't know if you're coming back soon or not, but I know you were thinking about getting your own network going. But check E. Give a real quick plug where people can find you. You on YouTube? I'm guessing you're still putting your stuff out there, right?
Actually, I don't have a YouTube anymore at the moment. I mean, there's YouTube that's out there that I just don't have access to. I just don't know what happened. I had the same password, had the same everything. It just won't let me on. Some weirdity happened there to that old account that I just don't have access to. But so basically, if people want to find me, friend me, Facebook, because now I gave the old E for Eternity that became AIM network to Eva, so she could have an Our Reality ISB network, so people can find and help her out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, I helped her, because she was always so gratefully helpful to me when she was my co-host, when she worked with me on the show and promoted it very well. So when I wasn't doing anything, I gave it to her. So now I'm just running things off my personal Facebook page because that's all I basically do right now. And I do want to come back, but, I'm just keeping I said on my last video I put out there, I'm keeping my options open, and I'm not taking the first thing that comes, but I do know in my heart where I want to be. But right now, I know where I want to be, but I'm not someone that likes to ask. I want someone to see and offer and think that I'm worth it. Other than that, I don't ask.
Yeah.
It's like, like when you watch movies and you see like these movies that say, like, for example, the first G.I. Joe movie when they said, you don't ask to join G.I. Joe, you get asked. And then they eventually did get asked at the end. They did after they kicked the crap out of Cobra. They got asked at the end. Well, that's the kind of person I am when it comes to proving myself all over again. Because, like I've always said, when it came to activism, I had to get past all the anger that everybody saw. So now proving that the anger's gone, and I can, like what you mentioned in the beginning of the show, Michael. When you learn to get past the anger, you learn how to listen. You learn to bypass all the BS. And learn how to behave, just so you can learn how to transmit in your brain and understand information through the flow of understanding much easier. And I really took that in a lot. Like, you sound like you've been through a lot, so that I understand So just coming from where you just came from a while ago in your show, I'm like, this guy understands anger. And I'm just coming out of 3 years of going through a constant HELL experience and understanding all of what that was. And it's like, this guy knows a lot about it. So I'm like,
Ian, I can tell you, yes, I was angry for a very long time. Basically, I was in Vietnam, and that was such an unjust situation, and we were lied to, and the American people were lied to, and I was so sick of the lies. And then the turning point for me, because and this really was a turning point, was when the Chicago 7, which was actually Chicago 8, were all arrested for disrupting the Democratic National Convention days before their trial started. The federal government, at the urging of Mayor Daley, who is I won't even go there, but at the urging of him, the federal government passed a law that you couldn't cross a state line with the intent to disrupt. And so they were actually charged with that and convicted of that after the fact. That's illegal. You cannot do that.
Yeah,
but the federal
that's
government,
totally illegal.
Yeah, but that's exactly what happened. And their lawyer, William Kunstler, he said,
argued that, of course.
He said, I'm going to tell you, and he told this to the media. I listened to him, saw him the day he said it. He said, my clients have been convicted of crossing state line and having a state of mind. Oh, my God. Who does not have a state of mind when they travel around through this country? And that's illegal. Essentially, that's what was happening. And so I lost all faith in our government at that point. And that conviction took place in 1969 or 1970, something like that. And I remember it very well. And you should read the transcripts of that trial. It is such a comedy of errors. And I was so angry. I was just so angry. I mean, I hated things. But now, as I've gotten older, and I realize that I never accomplished anything by hating. You don't. You can't, because you block your mind. You block the ability to understand the other person's point of view. And then I met William Cooper, Bill Cooper.
You knew him?
Oh, yeah. I used to have coffee with him in Arizona. And, he lived about 70 or 80 miles outside of Phoenix, and I was working out in the West Texas, in the West Desert of Arizona, and I used to go into town. There was this one coffee shop that I liked, and he just happened to be sitting next to me one day. He came in and stood next to me, and we were just talking about things. But he told me something after I got to know who he was. He had written his book, Behold the Pale Horses, and all of that kind of stuff. He said, because we were talking about the Constitution, believe it or not, which the show is about tonight. We were talking about that and freedom of press. And he said, there is no such thing as freedom of press. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, the only freedom of press there is if you own your own press and you publish what you want to publish. That is free press. And I started thinking about that, and that's absolutely correct. And I stopped hating when he said to me, one thing that you have to remember, it doesn't matter how strong your convictions are. The man on the other side of the river has the same convictions as you. You just differ on your policies about things. And that's when I sat down and thought to myself, wow, what a profound statement that is. And so I started listening to the other side. And I don't necessarily agree with the other side. They bring up a lot of interesting points, which is what I don't see happening in our government today between the political parties. They don't look at what's common between them. They look at what's different between them, and it's done usually in anger. It's like people say, well, did you watch the Democratic debate? Did you watch the Republican debate? No, I didn't, because it's not a debate. I was on a debate team, and I can tell you right now that's not what it is a mudslinging interview. And that doesn't mean crap to me, because it's just empty words being thrown out there to appease the masses. And
all it basically looks like, if you mind if I say a few things about that.
Yeah,
it looks
go
like
ahead.
All the news commentators doing are interviewing a little bit to each so-called politician. They're like asking questions, and they're barely saying like maybe one or two, three mudslinging words to each other to incite a riot, like not a riot, but like a like an excitement amongst the masses. And that's not does that even define debate, or is that a
no,
word
it
circus?
doesn't. It is.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
You know what it is?
It's a verbal debate.
Yeah, it's a verbal volleyball game is all it is.
That's what it looks like. Like Atari tennis.
That's it. And the interesting thing is about that, I don't want to hear what's wrong with the country. I already know that. Tell me how you're going to fix it. Don't tell me how you're going to build a wall. No, don't tell me how you're going to build a wall 1,897 miles if you don't have a solution as to how it's going to be built. Oh, well, I'm going to make President of Mexico build it. Really? I'm going to watch him laugh his butt off at you because to be
Yeah.
quite honest with you, all he's got to do is say up yours, and that's the end of the story. You know?
And then to top it all
So-
off, is once we go to build it, there's just going to be some people with guns on the other side shooting at us like that Border Patrol person that got killed a few years back.
That's right.
Over
That's exactly right.
Fast and Furious. As soon as we
Yes.
go to build it, our men are going to get shot.
Yeah. And
that
well,
don't
and
ever get
see,
questioned.
That's it. The thing of it is, this country keeps inventing new laws and new rules. I mean, my God, have you ever really looked at the Library of Congress? I've been there several times. At the Library of Congress, at the laws that are in this country. Oh my God! You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that song, and I can't think of the name of the group that sang it. Perhaps AJ can tell me. Where it was signs everywhere. There's signs. Don't do this. Don't do that.
Tesla.
Tesla.
It was Tesla.
Yeah.
Alice Cooper first, then Tesla.
Yeah.
Oh, was Alice Cooper first? Okay.
Yes, then Tesla. I believe it was Alice Cooper. That was his original song, and Tesla did a remake. But yes, Ian, you're correct. I actually like the Tesla version. That is a good song.
Yeah,
it is.
but it's a very telling and true song. You know, and so that's
and I related it worked.
Yes.
And you know the whole thing with my job, they're always like, oh, safety this, safety that, and I actually sit on a few committees, and people are like, well, we need to put up a sign for this, and we need to put up a sign for that. I say, guys, come on. Signs everywhere, a sign blocking out the scenery break in my mind. And I'm like, people don't read them anymore. People do not read them because you have a sign everywhere. It's just, it gets thrown into the mix. I'm like, it comes down to habit. You have to change the habits of the people.
That's right.
Sprinkles and ice cream.
Well, you know what? AJ, you absolutely hit the nail on the head. The only way things are going to change, the only way we're going to prevent the Constitution from being twisted and morphed into an even greater monster is if we, the people, make that change. It's like on the debates, even within the Republican debates themselves, they drive wedges. They drive wedges in between each candidate. They drive wedges in the Democratic convention between Sanders and, of course, I don't even know why those two are running, to be quite honest with you. I mean,
it's so funny. It's so funny, Michael, that you mentioned about driving a wedge. Because if you listen to my song "Divided Again," I mentioned about how they love to drive a wedge.
That's a
you
fact.
You use my words. It is a very big fact.
It is.
This is the funny thing, though. These are very deceptive wedges that they drive. The last elections, my sister-in-law was like, I'm going to vote for Mitt Romney. I said, why? Like we were talking earlier, like this two-party system, it's got to stop. It really has to stop.
Right.
And one thing I'd like to point out there. Oh, go ahead, Renegade. Finish yours. Sorry.
So does anybody have a speakerphone going on right now? I'm hearing
not
echo.
Not me this time.
Not me.
I am not the culprit.
By the way, I'm using the that deal I was telling. Yes, Direct Connect, and it's really working very well tonight. Maybe it's because of
great. Actually, you are coming in loud, and you are so loud and strong, man, just like a host should be. But anyway, I was talking to my sister-in-law, and she's like, I'm going to vote for Mitt Romney. I said, well, why? Well, because he's against abortion. I said, oh, gosh, really? I said, well, so am I, because I believe in the Constitution, which is, a freedom and a right to life. I said, but
bingo.
What do you know about Mittens Romney? And she gave me this blank look. I said, do you know his company, which he makes lots of money on, are the ones that take away the waste management? They're the waste management for Planned Parenthood. So if he really believed in being pro-life and against abortion, his company wouldn't be going in and removing the aborted fetuses. But you're going to vote for him, right?
Man.
You're going to vote for him, right? Because he stood up there and said, I'm against abortion. Now, you got to do a little bit of research in these scumbags that stand up in front of you in the puppet show because they all lie.
Well,
wow.
That's a fact. I mean, the thing of it is a fact. And facts are facts. You can't get around that. But in all actuality, Smittens, that's what I like to call him.
Mittens.
but he never had a chance to begin with, which should have told him. He was a puppet, just like he was a puppet, just like AJ said. I mean, Smittens.
So is Ted Cruz.
Absolutely, yeah. Ted Cruz the same way.
His wife is part of the CFR. Or was
I know.
Part of the CFR. Come on.
No
way! I didn't know that.
Fact. Yeah, that's a fact.
That's a fact.
Yeah,
she's
bought and paid. She's bought and paid for by Goldman Sachs.
Yeah,
and he is a Canadian. Hello. So Obama pays the way.
Citizenship. Oh my gosh! People
it's a joke.
Hey, Michael, can I ask you a question? Hello, Michael?
Yeah. I'm here. Yeah.
Hey, this is Lou again. I wanted to ask you two questions regarding William Cooper because I find it fascinating that you were able to communicate with him.
That is cool.
The first question is, Behold a Pale Horse, was that illegal to have?
No, it
wasn't. I bought it at Barnes & Nobles.
Yeah. Hell, you can get it on Amazon right now.
No. I'm talking about when it came out at that time, because he was talking a lot about government issues.
Well, believe it or not, that's one of the reasons that he was murdered, and he was murdered, even though it was a cover-up. I mean, they came out to his house. He lived on a little mountain, and he actually his broadcast he did with a shortwave radio, which was limited to like 25 to 50 miles. Even out in the wide open desert. Yeah, right, and that's where he broadcasts from. And you can pick up a lot of his broadcasts. In fact, he's got one video on YouTube that I know of. There's plenty of them, but one in particular, when he was talking to a bunch of students, he addressed a bunch of students at the Michigan State University. And here he comes out wearing a plaid farmer's shirt, a pair of blue jeans, and, of course, he was balding. I mean, he wasn't your average GQ dude, but the man was brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. Now, he wrote about some crazy stuff, but his murder was, in fact, committed by the county, and I forget the name of the county. I want to say it was it's the county that Tucson's, or not Tucson, Tucson is in. But he was a very friendly guy, very cautious, and I wished I had written down all the stuff that he had told me, but I was at that particular point in my life, I'd never even heard of him. And when we were talking, and in fact, I'll tell you something else that'll probably blow your mind. I was on an airplane flying from Los Angeles to San Antonio, Texas, years ago. This was back in the let's see, when was it? I think the 80s, or it might have been the 70s, early 70s. And I was sitting next to a guy, and I'm a very gregarious person, and I like to talk. I like hearing myself talk. I mean, that should be rather obvious, but the thing was, he and I were talking, and he asked me, this gentleman said, "Do you like reading books?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well," he says, "I've got one here." And he said, I'm going to let you read it for the duration of the flight. And I kept thinking, well, he's probably sick and tired of listening to me babble incessantly. So, and the name of the book was Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and I still have it to this day. The man's name was Richard Bach, the guy who wrote the book. I was sitting next to him, and he autographed it for me, and I still have it to this day. And
how cool is that?
Yeah. See,
I came across the audio book of Behold a Pale Horse, and I posted it in the event page.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
You know, that actually, I love reading, and I don't do the Kindle. I cannot read off a screen. It drives me nuts.
Yeah,
not to mention the battery will die after a while. And I love the fact that I can take a book with me and open it up anywhere that I'm at, and not have the lighting of the screen, the radiation coming off, mess with my eyes. That is a cool book. And there's some really great books out there. One that I'm going to be getting into is written by a guy named Russ Dizdar. It was 30 years of research went into this book. 30 years. The book is called The Black Awakening: Rise of the Satanic Super Soldier. It is about it's about the MK Ultra program. It is in depth. And he actually has a website called Shattering the Darkness, where they actually have been following a lot of these satanic cults and how they're infiltrating churches, schools, hospitals, everywhere, because of the bigger agenda that sits behind them. It's not just to destroy Christianity; it's to actually, poison humanity with, whatever they're doing. Who knows? But that book is 30 years of research. Now, Russ Dizdar actually came out of the occult, so that's the pretty cool thing. He was actually an insider. The book, Club Bilderberg, the Bilderberg Group, written by David Eskelin. That is an awesome book. That book, the more I get into it, I get angrier and angrier. I am blown away. They have made attempts. William Cooper was killed because he exposed the 9/11 plot.
That's right.
And you see this. You see that trend. See, that trend was going on for a while. They would either jail you, like with Fritz Springmeier, for exposing the Illuminati, and and also how I mentioned in the Boston Tea Party with the Freemasons, and also these priests. Now, to become a member of the Satanic cult, you have to become a Catholic priest, and he exposed all this. So he really kicked dirt in the face of the enemy. These ruling class scumbags, and they didn't like it, so they locked him up. Ken Hovind is another one that exposed Agenda 21. Like, he did basically Agenda 21 for dummies, and really got it out there, exposed the New World Order also. He got locked up. But now the researcher sheet and people who not only exposed things but wrote books, they were all killed off. So what they stopped doing, they stopped killing people off because what they did was they made them basically as martyrs. And they don't want to martyr these people anymore. So what they do is they come out with their jackals and they go out with a huge smear campaign to discredit you.
Bingo.
So that's what they start doing.
Yeah. Or lock you up in the house and say you're crazy.
Yeah, you got 10 heads. What are you talking about?
Well, AJ, that's the fact. I mean, nowadays the murder for hire plot is used only rarely. Now it's it's appropriate.
You know they're doing. They're doing that though.
What?
The murder for hire.
Oh yeah.
You know they're doing it right now in the Homeopathic Doctors Society. Down in Florida, there was 10 of them killed back last June to July. I think 10 of them were killed, and then over in Germany they had the Homeopathic Naturalist Convention. 29 of them were poisoned. So Big Pharma is doing the murder for plot, hiring their hitmen and going after these homeopathic doctors. And it's all revolved around this one protein that these doctors have been talking about that actually cure you. And please forgive me, listeners, Lisa Brumfield, known as Liberty to Lisa, involved with the coalition, she did a show about this one protein. I will go back to your event page and post links. Even if you can do that right now, I'm not online. I don't know if you were involved in that show or not, but there's one protein that is a positive protein that actually cures people. And there's a negative to that. It's a negative protein that they're putting in vaccines that are actually causing a whole bunch of diseases, and they're purposely doing this. And anyone that's talking against this, they're getting killed or attempted on their lives.
Unfortunately, I was not part of that show, Renegade. So, blah, 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 blah.
That show bothered me for about 2 weeks. I couldn't get out of my mind. that I couldn't believe that such promising research and actual people getting cured is being downplayed, and people are getting killed over it. Because Big Pharma doesn't want you to get cured. They want you to be in their circle.
As you already know, that would replace the need of hospitals, doctors, and nurses. There wouldn't be a need.
Well, not only that, but the thing of it is, you see, in medicine today, we don't focus on a cure. We focus on relieving symptoms, and that does not cure a disease. And
there's
my sister,
no money in it.
Well, that's right. There's no money, and there we go back to the word money. You know, you follow the money trail, you find the guilty parties every time. I mean, without fail. And that's something that Mr. Cooper used to talk about quite a bit, was the fact that follow the money. He said that's all you have to do. And I mean, that guy had mountains of research that he had been doing over the years. You know, he was some sort of an officer in the Navy, communications officer or something like that. I'm not real sure exactly. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and revisit his page, or his history.
The negative thing is called the nagalate. Nagalate is what it's called. The negative protein is called the nagalate. I can't remember the name of the positive protein is like it's a bunch of letters like GMA. Lisa Bromfield put a great a description to it using the letters for it. It was like God is my friend or something like that. It's like GIA. I can't remember it, but the negative protein is called nagalate. That's what they're putting in vaccines, and it actually blocks vitamin D. Mm-hmm. Vitamin D actually fights the cold and flu. Vitamin D is actually needed because with vitamin D deficiencies comes cancer, believe it or not.
Right.
Well, sunlight creates natural vitamin D in your body. And so nagalate is the negative.
Okay, well, you know, and that's an important thing that you brought up, because that violates the Constitution, because the Constitution guarantees our right to be protected. And it's not just against foreign enemies. It's a right to life. And that's the thing, you know. It's like I said, you know, I don't really care what the framers meant by the right to own guns. I don't care about any of that. What they meant then was one thing. How it works today is all importance, because it's been twisted, and we need to go back to the way it was back in those days. To start, you know, I'm telling you, we're headed for another revolution. I hope and pray that it is not going to be a bloody revolution. You know, you see people posting this stuff on Facebook time and again that says every once in a while there needs to be blood shed. Well, I don't believe in that. I don't think, because I'm a peace-loving person. On Facebook, I mean, those people on Facebook, especially the extreme right wing and the progressive liberals, that's all they want. It's a bloodletting with them. I mean, they plant suckerfish on everybody. You know, it's a sad situation. You know, it's a very sad situation, and our country's being plundered. You know, and now we're trying to plunder every country, and you can't tell these war hawks that. You know, it's like, you know, here's the thing. This is what I say. You know, we have war, and with Obama, if the Congress doesn't agree, he simply writes an executive order and sends troops. Well, you know, that is in violation of the Constitution. I don't care what anybody says. You just simply can't do that, because only Congress can declare a war. So, you know how people like Obama get around that? Well, it's not a war. We're there to help the people, or we're there to intervene. You know, it's an intervention, you know, kind of like that show that was on TV, you know. But the thing of it is that that's the biggest problem that we've got, is that lamestream media, as many people call it, simply do not want the American people to know what is going on. You know, and
well,
we have raised.
Guys, real quick. I got to be up very early. I got to check out to do some things in the morning. So I'm just going to say goodbye and say congratulations one more time, Michael. And thank you all very much for having me on. And may you have many great shows in the future.
All right. Peace, brother.
Night, buddy.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mike, you were driving on some great points there, and oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought.
No, you really
these puppets. These puppets are nothing. They're being used as manipulators, and that's what the media is doing. They use them to manipulate the masses to basically coerce us into their thinking. It's really pathetic. My gosh, gotta get back. I want to get my original thought back because you brought this out of me. I'm like, wow, yeah, great point. Can someone quick hit rewind on the show? No, but these guys, it's not like they have any power. They're being told to do. I heard it so many times. I'm getting back on track now. You know, Obama, I heard so many people go, oh, Obama's drones. No, they're not Obama's drones. He's a freaking puppet. The guy was elected. The guy was selected. He wasn't elected. And he was selected because he was selected for one reason only. Because he's the yes man. Yes, I'll do that for you. Yes, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And this whole legal jargon, it all comes down to the pen. He signs these executive orders. But, you know, this is the thing. You were talking about Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Congress has been getting bypassed since 1913 with the Federal Reserve Act. They've been getting bypassed even present day to when George Bush signed into effect the come on, help me here, the North American Union, done behind the backs of Congress. Congress is getting pushed out. They're pushing them out, and basically what is this doing? Aren't they our elect, we the people, constitutional? They're bypassing the Constitution once again, or circumnavigating it. They're doing it with our military and police. Very interesting. I recently spoke with a woman who was friends with this capitalizes on the guys I've recently talked with from the military. She was just talking with a guy, and he goes, we're all awake. We see what's going on. We will never go against American people. And by the way, he's like, we know that Muslims aren't the issue here. We know that. But they want you to think that. So what they're going to do is a lot of these FEMA camps are set up to, just like with the Japanese, that if you're a friend or a helper of Muslims, they're going to throw you in a FEMA camp. And he's like, this whole thing is a joke. People keep believing what these people are saying.
Well, the thing of it is, you're absolutely correct, because they're conditioning the U.S. to be put in the same prison that they're talking about as far as the Muslims are concerned. And what people don't realize is that we are already in a prison. We just can't see the walls.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's no walls. Trump didn't put them up yet.
That's good. That's good, AJ. I like that.
But seriously though, these people, think about the silliness that goes on right now. We have all these people get their bumper stickers. They're ruining their cars with bumper stickers of corporate puppets. And they're getting their baseball hats, and they're putting them on their T-shirts. They're putting their signs in their front yard. These people believe a lie. It's a lie, and they're believing it. And they're sitting there pushing these puppets. And when it comes down to it, these puppets not only want to circumnavigate the Congress, the Constitution, but they push the police state. Now, what you see going on now is they know that through our Constitution that the military is not allowed on our streets. But who's on our streets? The cops. So what are they doing? They're circumnavigating the military, the Constitution, and they're militarizing our police forces. And they're brainwashing them and dumbing them down as well. Not all of them, but some of them are going for it. This is the deception that we're dealing with, and we're letting it happen. We, the people, are letting it happen. It drives me nuts.
Oh, I know it. And the thing of it is that we had an opportunity at one time to make it so that our votes did count. But now, because there's such division, I mean, there's so many different factions in the United States. It's not even funny. We're so scattered, which was the ultimate goal. Their ultimate agenda was to get it so that there wasn't a majority on any one particular thing. And they were very good at it. That drive that wedge. And, you know, like if you look at the last election cycle in 2012, only 32%, at least according to the research I looked into, only 32% of the registered Republicans voted. 48% of the registered Democrats voted. While we already knew those votes didn't mean anything anyway.
Yeah, because the Electoral College.
That's right. Well, and you know, honestly, I'm in favor of the Electoral College because it's big cities have a greater say-so than small areas like out in Utah, for example, where the population might be 8 million people, if that.
I do get that, but if we went off of a popular vote and just used the whole republic as one, taking one vote, not off of territories, one vote, right? Who you voting for, this guy or that guy? That would change it, because the Electoral College is made up of a bunch of these scumbags that are part of the system anyway.
Oh, that's true. You're absolutely right about that. You know, and there's a buttload of them out there. I mean, they're all over the place. You know, it goes back to a lot of the music, and that's one of the reasons that I'm such a music fan, especially of the late 60s and the 70s. The songs were
my favorite genre of music.
Yeah, but they were so, and I hate using this term, but they were very, very political songs. But they were messages delivered by messengers like Bob Dylan and people like that. And you know,
CCR.
They were telling a story about what's actually happening in the world. You know, like I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but Scott McKenzie, when he did that song, San Francisco. I mean, that song, if you look at that, he was talking about the era of the hippie and how it was affecting the government, you know?
Oh, yeah. And we're seeing that now, though. We're seeing that now with not only Anon, even though some of them are a little all over the place. You look at it more as a party than an actual resolution.
Right.
But, you know, we're seeing a lot of movements. I mean, March Against Monsanto. I mean, we're seeing more and more movements going on that spawned from the 60s and 70s.
That's right.
Look at this song. I love the song by Creedence Clearwater Revival. Fortunate Son. It ain't me. I ain't the senator's son, no. Love it. It ain't me, no. I ain't a millionaire's son, no. I love that song. It's so freaking true. We're just the average citizen, you know, the ones that they're bypassing. But the ones that they're bypassing are we, the people. We hold the power, not these scumbags. They stole the power. So why don't we steal it back? Take it back. When we steal it, let's just reclaim our rights to it.
That's exactly right. It is our right and our responsibility and our obligation to take back what was ours. And that, you know, that ties into, in reality, I'm very proud of the Bundy family for what they're doing. Initially, I was a little bit concerned about that, but I think in reality, their stand is sending a message to the rest of the world. Look, we're tired. It's over with. We're done with this. You're not going to do this to us anymore. And, you know, they took the stand that they did. Now, the sad part about that whole situation is that there was one of the freedom groups that was going out there, and I validated the situation, but I couldn't validate the story per se. But this freedom group stopped somewhere. They were on their way out to Oregon, and the actual leader of this group, so to speak, or the man who took command, got shot right between the eyes by one of his own people because they got in an argument at a bar on their way there. Well, that actually happened. So when you have people like that who want to solve everything with violence. You know, one of my favorite sayings is, and this came from the 60s, and that's fighting for peace is like fornicating for chastity. It simply does not work. And, you know, all these people out there are saying, well, we want to show our strength. You know what? You don't gain allies by creating fear. Strength creates fear. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a strong country, but you don't want to go out and broadcast it to the world as, like, for example, if you don't do as we do, then you're history. And that's what happened. If you look at any of the cities in Libya or in Iran, any place like that, look at them before we got involved.
Yeah,
look at the pictures.
Beautiful
cities. And I have always wanted to go to the Middle East simply because I find it exotic. And I love people. I like trying different foods and stuff.
There's a lot of history there, too.
Yeah. And, a lot of religious history, which is exactly why I wanted to go there. That was the real reason, because I want to understand what religion was then versus what it is now. And I think there's a very distinct difference, you know.
But it was brutal. Back in the day.
Yeah, it was. The only difference between what it was then and what it is now is the manner in which the very religious go about their business. I mean, and in truth, you know, while it's not violent from a physical standpoint, religion can be, in many cases, violent in a very passive-aggressive standpoint.
Well, and that's where I always like to step in and ask people, you know, when have I browbeat you with the Bible? You know, I do what Jesus said, and that is to love unconditionally.
Bingo.
And try to understand. And I want to touch on what you just said, too. When it comes down to, like, you know, making things change, honestly, a lot of us here have spoken about this, and honestly, many of us see that they're pushing us into a corner where they almost are provoking a fight. As much as we want a peaceful resolution to this, through their corrupted English judicial system, because it's not of the Constitution. The bar means British Accredited Registry. You're not going to win there.
Can I use that? Can I use that, AJ? That's fantastic, dude.
Absolutely. But I'm just speaking the truth. I mean, think of the term of the lawyer. It's the esquire. I mean, that's not an American term. That's a British term. But, you know, as much as we don't want to see war, as much as we don't want to kill, because, you know, one of the first commandments is thou shalt not murder. That should not happen. But they are pushing us more and more. But think about the us. Who are the us? The people that give them their power. The police, the military. Hey, guys, come on. Step away from your posts and become we the people. Once again, we remove their power. They won't have power. They use our own selves against us so that they continue on with their power. And that's right there is where it is at. Oh, my gosh, it just drives me crazy. Step away, put down your badge, put down your gun. You can still defend for the communities, but don't stand up when they tell you need to do this or you're not going to get your funding. You need to tell them, screw your funding. I'm in here for the American people, not you.
Bingo. All right, well, listen, guys, we only have about just a little more than 4 minutes. So I thought maybe what we could do is everybody give out a closing statement to this particular episode and, a minute or two, and we can go out because I'm, like I said, I'm going to do my part of it first and then let you guys finish. But the thing of it is this, in my opinion, has been a very successful show in that I am learning about you guys and the ISB network. And I'm really happy. I'm very pleased that you guys asked me. And the one thing that we have to remember in this world, that if you cannot love and if you cannot show the love and love people, it doesn't matter whether they agree or disagree with you. You have to love it because that is what Jesus' word was. You know, If you can't do that, then you're lost. And I think that's exactly what he was talking about. So you two, please give your closing statements, and then we will be gone, because we only have like 3 minutes
left. As a host, who do you want to go first? Who do you want to go first?
Well,
ladies first. Ladies first.
Yeah, ladies first.
Freedom is there for the taking, people. We have to take it. We have to embrace it, unite it into our being, and become one with it. For these are God-given rights given to all of us freely, and we just have to open our arms and accept it. And if you have to ask the government, it was a stupid question.
Bingo.
Nice.
Okay, AJ, it's your turn, brother.
You know what? I look at it like this. Don't wake up tomorrow and take your freedom for granted, because it's being played against you in every way, shape, and form. Get informed.
Yeah.
Turn off your TV. Step out for 1 second. You know, the best thing you can do, life catches you up real quick. Go somewhere peaceful where you can actually clear your mind and breathe in deep. I mean, I know your life has probably got you pulling you in every way, shape, and form. But, you know, when it really comes down to it, the future, you know, not only with our children, but you are going to be a part of it as well. Hey, let's make it – we need to take it back. We need to take back, because this – I can't explain to you right now in this one sentence what the New World Order is going to do to you, but it's not going to be any good.
No.
They have some serious plans for you. And with that, I want to say, Mike, I'll tell you what, I've been praying for some serious contenders here on Infinite Source Broadcast Network. And I just texted Eva about this. And it's been an honor to have you here. You are well-spoken. From the first day I heard you, I'm like, listen to this guy. Not only do you have the perfect radio voice, as Lou was saying earlier, but your knowledge and your just ability to really jog a thought in someone's mind is just it's uncomparable. I mean, man, you give me a lot to do here when I do my show. Brother, it is an honor to have you here. And I can't wait just to hear more of your shows in the future. Yeah. Whether I'm a part of them or not, or I catch them, just sit back and listen or rebroadcast, man. It's awesome to have you here involved with not only ISB, but also the Coalition.
Okay. Well, you know, AJ, I do appreciate that. And thanks to Eva and you guys, actually, ISB, you made me realize that, I still have something left to offer. And
you have a lot to offer.
You have something.
You have a lot.
With that, we've got like
you took the words from me.
We've got like 44 seconds left, and the last thing that I want to say, because we're not going to go into overtime tonight. I haven't slept in 2 days because I've been so excited about this show. I'm not
like Christmas all over again.
It was. But I want to leave everybody with this one thought, and it's, AJ, you'll appreciate this, and I know you will too.
Sure.
Janis Joplin said it best. Freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose. Good night, folks. I love y'all. Thank you for being here.
Fight for freedom, and God bless.
Excellent show, guys. Excellent.
The Open Door.
Oh, my God.
Door.
Michael.
What?
Hats off to you. I'm so honored that you allowed me to be part of your show. Thank you so much.
You're going to be a major portion of my show. I promise you. As you AJ, because it's real important that we have like minds. We may not always agree on everything, but that's okay. As long as we have a consensus about